for COVID research and for COVID vaccine research.
Right.
I'll never forget that story making the airwaves. And I thought, what a legend. Others use their money for whatever
so many
it is.
things.
But she donated a whopping $1 million to COVID research.
She equally donated books to young children. I mean, before you go to school, she'll give a book to every single person.
Amazing.
And it still continues till now. So before you go to school, you get a book. And when you go to school, everybody gets a book.
Amazing.
So she has a library. She has a library. Dolly Parton was an icon, a legend.
I mean,
a great musician, a great writer, and she was a great influencer. When you speak to a lot of the young artists, they would tell you that they took a lot from her. She was so gracious. She was very, very gracious. Performed alongside everybody, anybody. Now it got to a point where, you know, her symphony where a group of young girls would just come and sing her songs, because at that age she couldn't perform actively, you know. So it's good. We lost Kenny Rogers. We've now lost Dolly Parton too. They were a great duo. And the husband, I think the husband died 2025, right? Last year.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So she's that kind of a person.
I mean, it's a life worth celebrating.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean...
Mana likes book back in 4x4. R2B. You know what time it is?
The strange thing is that for Kenny Rogers, he said he wanted to die at age 70. He didn't want to stress anybody. He didn't want to be a burden on anybody. And exactly age 70, he passed.
Oh.
Yes, at exactly age 17 he passed.
Wow.
We celebrate the life of Dolly
these are
Parton.
Great people.
I think I don't know much about it, I'll be very honest, because I'm not a big country music fan, but Jolene I've heard quite a number of times. I've heard, in fact, Coat of Many Colors, because of Joseph's story in the Bible, and so it's a reference song of some sort, particularly growing up. With respect to pictorial evidence, a bit more in terms of listening to something where allows you creates the imagery of what possibly a coat of many colors could be like, and we celebrate her. She find peace.
She's done well
in the bosom of our Lord Jesus. But it's time for us to roll on and get into a bit more in terms of newspapers this morning as well. A number of the papers are here. We'll take you online as well. Shall we?
Yes.
We shall. Let's do that by starting off with the Custodian newspaper. A number of stories here on the front page.
And straight into the papers, shall we, Helen?
All right, the Custodian this morning, fearless, fair, and reliable. No cash for Ghana's licensed gold buyers, Reuters reveals. Afoko files for NPP chairmanship, pledges to reunite party for victory 2028. I beg your pardon. Enough is enough. Osahin drags Sami Jemfi and others to court for character assassination. NPP demands account of 1.7 billion US dollar gold board BOG losses, and Zoomline disinfects MMDAs in Central and Ashanti regions. I'm going to go to the next newspaper. But I just want to say very quickly, at what point do we move on from demanding an account of these losses to perhaps proffering some solutions and some ideas? We've said the losses sit on the Bank of Ghana's books. If you want to dig further, it was assay fees, off-taker discounts, and exchange rate differentials. Those things have been put forth. So does the new Patriotic Party now perhaps want to get into the breakdown of those issues and let's move on? It seems we're stuck in a merry-go-round. We've gone round, Hey, come and account for the loss. We've been told how these losses were occasioned, whose books they sit on. Okay, is it exchange rate differentials that you want to have a bite on? By all means, let's have a discussion on that. It's an age-old discussion. Do we want to dig further into the off-taker discounts. Who are these persons who receive discounts? Are there any ties we should be made aware of? And do we think maybe the gold boards assay fees are too high? Let's now start to reimagine the conversation.
In fairness, right? In fairness, should that bipartisan or ad hoc committee be set up and look into it?
We have committees that look into this. Do you want to summon the BOG governor? That's an option. A public accounts committee can get involved. I believe there's a finance committee in parliament. If we're truly embarking on this conversation for national interest purposes, let's be up and doing, and let's get the conversation actually going. We've been stuck on the NPP demands account of 1.7 billion gold board BOG losses. An account has been made of where the losses stem from. Okay, what next? What next do you add to the conversation? How do we move forward? How do we move forward?
So it's a very important aspect.
At this point, I just want to know, how do we move forward? It's getting stale.
I don't know. I think it's getting tiring. It's getting exhaustive. It's getting boring. And I think, you see, I mentioned something the last time. The minority claimed, they said it, that they were going to ensure that they would tackle the majority anyhow, anyway. And this is what is playing out. I don't think we should waste time on it. We've countenanced it for a few days that has been festering in the media space. Now, what I'm going to say is that I think it's becoming balderdash. It is becoming balderdash. Let's stop this. Otherwise, what it is that then we're going to monitor and probe every state institution. The moment they mention anything about DVLA, we have to go in there. The moment they mention anything, and it's amazing the crop of people who are speaking to this matter. Not too long ago, so many things happened under your watch. I hate to do this, but you see, when push comes to shove, these are the things that happen. Not too long ago, why aren't they impressing on Ken Ofori-Atta to come back to Ghana? Why are they not? If they really have the development and growth of Ghana at heart, and they believe that the economy ought to run on a smooth pedestal, why are they not calling for the head of Ken Ofori-Atta to come and tell us everything that he did under his tenure? Because we've lost so many millions of dollars under Ofori-Atta.
Allegedly.
You get it? No, we have lost it because it is evidential. It is factual. It's been proven. You get it? So what I am saying is, if you really have Ghanaians at heart and you believe that all these things need to be happening, like Ellen said, one too many. It's okay. You've been told it is Bank of Ghana that now you want to go into gold board and probe. What again do you want? The accounts have been audited and it's been put out there. It's in the open. What probe again do you want?
No, I think a probe should be forward-looking, like Helen suggests. That, I mean, after all is said and done, 22 billion cedis, near 22 billion cedis is not lost on anybody. That is a reality which exists. Who were the off-takers, for instance? Why was discounts provided? I mean, there's explanation to all of these which have come.
It has been done already.
Right?
They are claiming that the accounting losses, because they knew that they were going to lose. So let me just be outrageous and talk about this. Saving Private Ryan. Four brothers were in the military, and 3 of them had died at the war front. So
is this a movie or something?
Yeah, no, real life story. So what happened was that a message was sent that the last one should not die, otherwise it would distress the parents. Look, there are thousands of soldiers who died because of just one person. So sometimes you take a risk, and that is what we are hearing. I don't understand the accounting principles, but this is what was said, that they knew that some of these losses were going to rear its head. But then they had to do it anyways because they needed to secure some funds.
Well, the additional angle to this, and I was hearing the new majority leader speak, suggesting that, look, any probe into the losses, and a probe is very important. You can say there's been explanations which has
there
come
is an
forward.
Audited account.
No, I think you're mixing up the two. I'm not speaking in reference to the BOG's, the gold boards books. There's a question and a demand for a forward-looking conversation as to why we lost 22 billion cedis.
And that cannot be found in the explanatory part of the books that says that you lost this amount of money and it is Bank of Ghana?
Let me kindly make the point that 1.7 billion, I think in terms of all of the conversations we've been, $1.7 billion, so in terms of all the conversations we've been having, yes, even the IMF report, and I keep telling people, the IMF report, which was held by the minority leader when he addressed a news conference, sought to explain where the losses went to: exchange rates, off-taker discount, agent and assay fees, and there was one other which I can't immediately drop off my head. It highlights where all of those goes, but we can probe a bit more and learn useful lessons as to not to have it repeat. Now, the additional angle which was other program costs and some other things. The additional angle to this, right, is that the new majority leader is saying that, well, then we'll have to look into the losses from, is it 2021? Because we've been recording losses since then.
Because we were recording them under the same program which existed then, which is also relevant to the conversation, albeit this time around, because of a scaling up of the program, the losses are more.
Exactly. And the concern, if I can call it a concern, is that until this present administration, the losses were actually not reported. Right? So if that is the case, that we want to look into this loss, then let's open it up and look into it more. And I've been reading a lot by different persons. I think Bright Simmons wrote a very lengthy piece on this, so has Alfred and some other persons, and a probe devoid of the antiques that we've seen, the politicking and all of that, will actually leave all of us better off in terms of being able to appreciate better. And look, the model and the work that's been done in terms of effects that it brought in and the resultant benefits to the Ghanaian economy, it's not in doubt.
That's right.
In fact, it's not been doubted by anybody. The question which is being asked, and perhaps what a lot of people have said, should have led the conversations instead of, Gold Board has made the losses. How come this magnitude? What accounted for it? How do we trim it down? That should have led the conversation towards national learning.
Solutions.
And that is where a probe is going to. The probe is not going to seek to ascertain, the loss was actually on the Gold Board. No, that's for
we've moved on.
We've moved way
some of us
past
have moved on. It appears others haven't. The New Center newspaper this morning, NPP backs Afenyo marking over 22 billion Gold Board losses. It finds itself again here. Goldfields pleads fairness. CEO urges Ghana to balance national interests with investment needed to sustain Takwa. Afoko files pledges inclusive leadership, and Parliament to probe some 22 billion Ghana cedis gold loss. That's it from me.
Patrice.
Okay, let's get to the Daily Gist this morning. It says Gold Board is broke after BOG exits. The funeral joins Edu Buahin, same site together in Brekum. No grand agenda to Islamize Ghana. This is attributed to Mustafa Hamid. Probe Gold Board, $1.7 billion losses. CPS demands. Afenyo marking sues. Sami Jemfi has got the picture, or pictures of both of them, on the front page of the Daily Gist. Alhaji Loto is hot. This is something happening at NLA. And Afoko spells out vision for NPP after filing for chairmanship. Also here, a story attributed to Opoko Afari says Ghana's debt crisis was building long before 2022. We have the Accra Times this morning, also says new Unimark SRC boss pledges accountable and inclusive leadership. Quite funny. Now, Bilsa North MCE condemns alleged military brutality against Sandema resident. National Security Boss calls for tougher neutral enforcement when it comes to Vigilantism and Related Offences Act 2019, Act 999. Afoko addresses delegates. It's also on the front page. And Bulu Pizza Club congratulates James Agalga on his appointment as majority leader. That is the Accra Times.
Let me take you online quickly at 3news.com. DVLA seizes over 130 clone duty evading vehicles after deploying scanner tech. Well, I mean, people always find ways to beat the system, and so kudos to them. We'll expect a bit more in terms of that. National Security Coordinator calls for depoliticized enforcement of Ghana's anti-vigilantism law. U.S. pauses visa appointments worldwide amid Trump's global immigration crackdown. I don't want my personal circumstances to become a source of distraction to the NPP. Bernardine Chibuesiako saying this as he's withdrawn his bid and seeking to become chair of the opposition New Patriotic Party. Gold Board orders local refining effective September 1 as Ghana moves to gain value from gold trade. A bit more, recruitment into police, fire, prisons and GIS, 10,000 successful applicants currently in training, according to the Interior Minister. Now, they are standing for themselves, not us. Inusa Fusheni wants MP over self-interest. That's an interesting perspective. Gold Board bans export of unrefined gold d'or effective 1st September. We need leaders with integrity. Dramani warns supermajority parliament over Afenyo marking allegations. This goes beyond Afenyo marking. CDD warns fresh allegations could damage parliament. We are in trouble. Inusa Fusheni warns MPs are trading away public trust. City Newsroom, U.S. pauses some visa appointments globally, what it means for Ghanaian applicant. BOG SEC targets 2027 for full implementation of virtual asset law. Extortion at Ghana's border posts influences use of unapproved routes. It's a new study. Gold Board's operation not worsening Galamsey. Majority response. No evidence of Islamization agenda in Ghana. Mustafa Hamid and Wontumi withdraws from NPP national chairmanship race. I'm going to end with Ghana Web, and then we begin to get a bit more in terms of details. I'm sure there are a number from the papers which have already piqued our interest. Why Akufo-Addo sacked Amakwata, Benito Owusu-Bio, others in 2024 reshuffle. Henry Korte has been sharing. It's been one of the things I get a bit more in terms of details from. Chairman Wontumi withdraws from NPP chairman contest. Without our spiritualists, Accra would never have peace. Gamanche. KSM breaks silence on being on payroll of Mohammed's government. He wasn't very happy about those allegations. NDC, and I think I would take a cue from him and back him up on this. Being critical, right, even of the opposition sometimes when they make certain claims, it's not suggestive that you're on a government's payroll, right? And so the politicization has become very ingrained and it's very problematic. And I know where this came from because the minority leader, Alexander Afenyo-Markin, was on his platform where he sort of disagreed because the minority leader had said on another platform that, look, the Chief Justice, and there was a collusion, a grand agenda to have removed the former Chief Justice. And he sought to have him substantiate those claims. And we had the minority leader made statements suggesting that that was his conviction. And he said, if it's your conviction, don't pass it off as though they are factual statement and there's evidentiary backing to it, because it casts the judiciary in a negative light. I suspect it's on the back of that persons have begun to suggest, I think it's unfair on this person in sincerity. And it worries me, right, that increasingly when you are critical of the government, it suggests opposition. When you take on the minority because you believe a certain position they hold is without a factual basis, you're on the government's payroll. In one breath, it suggests you're doing a good job.
100%.
Right? But also, I sometimes find it as let me be charitable with my words, because I was going to say it's a defect in reasoning to a certain extent.
That's a very euphemistic way to say. I'm going to use that phrase, a defect in reasoning. You do all. I like that.
Right? Because...
Was Afenyo Markin sued for defamation?
Sued for defamation.
Yes. When he made this allegation.
No, because at the end of the day, there's a country to build. And for me, that's where we must always consistently look at. We must always keep our eye on that ball, that there is a country to build. So criticism must be a part of it. Constructive, not you wake up and you feel like you must say something and then you start saying it. I rest my case. NDC's only crime is not putting Afenyo Markin before court. Mustafa Bande saying this. Those are the details from Ghana Web as well. Anything piquing interest this morning before I want to do that? Henry Cote explaining why the former president reshuffled in 2024.
I see this has been put up on the screen. Apologies for slight tackling you, gentlemen. That was actually what I wanted to speak about. I read that very heartfelt letter from Chairman Wontumi, a love letter to his party, and it was quite touching, the way he describes the manner in which he really loves the new patriotic party and how much it pains him to have to step aside at this time. If you haven't read it, it's a sad one. But a little excerpt of
You find it sad?
I found, he poured his heart into that write-up. Let me just read a bit of it for those of you who there's something about being behind bars that brings out that reflectiveness in man.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Wontumi wrote this.
Helen, let's kindly take us through it.
Oh, yeah.
I see some shock in Patrice's face. There are moments in the life of a man when the heart wants to continue, but duty demands sacrifice. Moments when one must quietly set aside personal ambition, not because the dream has died, but because the family he loves must not be made to carry his burden. Today, I find myself at such a painful moment. After many nights of prayer, sober reflection, and consultations with my family, legal team, party elders, campaign team, and trusted supporters, I've come to the difficult conclusion that my present circumstances must not become an additional burden on the new patriotic party. And to the entire NPP family, I offer my heart, my loyalty, and my continued service. This is not goodbye. It is not the end of the journey. It is only a painful pause in a much greater story that God himself is writing. Every night eventually gives way to the morning. Every storm eventually runs out of rain. And every prison has a door that only God can open. I began this journey because I love the NPP. Today, I'm making this painful sacrifice because I still love the NPP. I don't want to be a burden to the party. I want to be part of its healing, its unity, and its return to power. So my beloved supporters, wipe away your tears. Remain strong. Remain united. Remain loyal to the party. Stand firmly behind Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and never lose faith in the great elephant. My body may be confined today, but my heart remains with you.
Right. Touching, I must add.
Okay, there's a few more lines. It says, and if it is the will of God, we shall meet again, not in sorrow, but in joy, not in defeat, but in victory. The heart wants to continue, but duty demands sacrifice. It goes on. Let me pause here. It's okay. Thank you, producer. I think I've read enough. I think it's okay.
Yeah. It was always going to be very difficult, him being able to contest. In fact, some conversations from insiders suggested that it was only going to put a strain on the entire process, because then some persons would have sought to challenge, right? Because the constitution of the party, once you're a convict, it suggests a member shall be disqualified from holding any position if he has been convicted or sentenced by a court of competent jurisdiction in respect of any offense involving high crime, high treason, treason or offense involving the security or dishonesty, fraud or moral turpitude. So this was always going to be...
And that's according to the NPP's
the
constitution.
NPP's constitution, right? Which falls in line with any offense punishable by death or by a sentence of not less than 10 years, unless a period of 10 years has elapsed after the serving of the sentence. And he is still in custody. The argument prior by his team was that, look, we're challenging this in the court and we're seeking an appeal which will acquit him. And so why deny him the opportunity if there's an appeal which could eventually result in his acquittal? And so they picked forms on his behalf and were ready to go through the paces, and October 3 we see. But even before that, there were concerns about his vetting. How was his vetting going to be conducted, amongst many other things? Because the candidate will have to be vetted by the elections committee. Mm-hmm. How was his going to be done? Was the first of the many bottlenecks that could potentially come up. And then others foresaw legal action, right? Seeking to ask questions in relation to the provision in their constitution vis-a-vis his face on a potential ballot. And that could have marred, to an extent, the plan. And so, taking that into context, I can see a bit more in terms of reason as to the heart wants to, but it could potentially have a bit more ripple effect on the Elephant Party and what they've set out as a roadmap towards completing a reorganization bid headed for the 2028 elections. And so, unfortunate for him in the present circumstances, because it was something he had wanted to do and do keenly, but as life will have it, he's serving a sentence currently, and so that sort of disqualifies him immediately.
Patrice, did you not feel the emotion in that write-up?
Not necessarily so that I do not feel it. I mean, he's human. Yeah. And yeah, this is what the feeling is. The way you were reading it felt more like we're at a funeral service and you're trying to give an obituary.
I wanted to invoke also. I wanted to convey.
Yeah, you wanted to convey that kind of that but the point is that with the people involved, do they see it that way? Do they feel that same way as you're reading it? Yes, I think it's a good write-up. Yes, beautiful write-up. But look, business as usual. Let's get the country running, because here are the things. It is not that when somebody's done something wrong, you have to push the person further down. My point is this: as humans, we need to consider a lot of things from the top, as in what culminated to the situation where he finds himself. This is an internal party issue and matter. Right. Fine, it's of national concern because it's the largest opposition party. I do not have any qualms with that one. So I would leave it at that. But I'm looking at the larger picture. What ought to be floated around has to be centered on doing good to aid the development of a country. Because if all the heart and love and feelings is got for the political party, would not only end at the political party level, but then transcend onto nation building. And nation building means you have to be ethical in your ways, you have to be virtuous, you have to show a lot of gratuity in the things that you do. Diligence, providence, and you don't show them in your life, then why would it even start at the party level? So for me, all these things is a charade. I see them as a charade. What else do we expect? My point is, at the larger space, where everybody is supposed to play a key role in ensuring that there is parity, there is equity, everybody enjoys, everybody benefits from the national cake, everybody does things that is not supposed to affect the growth and development of the country. Did he discharge his duties adequately? Did he do that in a good manner? Did he do that in a positive manner? Did he do that in a development-oriented manner? Did he do that with the concerns of the people? So that is my point. I am not the bearer of the one that sees two levels, where one item is blowing hot and cold. So let us not pretend. Let us not pretend. It's an internal thing. This is the way it has to go. But I'm not going to feel very empathetic and so, no, I would not do that.
053-220-0927, 053-220-0927. That's our WhatsApp number, and it's a number by which you can be a part of the conversation this morning here on the show. And so, Wontumi is no longer in the running to be chairman of the NPP. There's a national security conversation on vigilantism which was about because of the NPP. I want to get details of this Henry Korte explanation as to why there was a reshuffle. Now, the story says he explained that he had initially decided not to seek re-election as MP for the constituency because he believed he had completed his political career there. However, after receiving information that the president intended to reshuffle his government and remove ministers who were not seeking re-election, he changed his mind. Mr. Korte said he subsequently developed an interest in contesting the parliamentary election because he had been informed that he was likely to be appointed Minister for Interior. So I think the story is that the president then sought to reshuffle ministers who were not seeking to contest again as MPs. That's all of it. So let's get a bit more from the papers as well in relation to what's been happening in and around the country.
All right, I see here that there is some exercise as far as disinfection is concerned. Zoom Lion disinfects MMDAs in Central Ashanti regions, and the filth in the picture that goes along with that story, oh, it's nothing to write home about. Very filthy indeed. I'll let us have a quick feel of that story. Now, Zoom Line Company Limited has begun an 8-day disinfection and disinfestation exercise across selected public facilities in 22 metropolitan municipal and district assemblies, MMDAs, in the central region. The exercise on Thursday, 20th August 2026, carried out in collaboration with the Central Regional Coordinating Council and the district assemblies, targeted schools, markets, health facilities, and public places of convenience identified through rapid risk assessments by the respective assemblies. It was a necessary response to the nationwide floods that affected many communities and inundated public facilities. Now, the flooding had increased the risk of environmental contamination and created breeding grounds for disease vectors, heightening the possibility of outbreaks of water and vector-borne illnesses. So, if we're talking about the flood from a couple of months ago, then these areas had been left very filthy up until now. I mean, just take a look at this picture. It's not good. As a people, even before the intervention of the state and other agencies, what are we doing in our own backyards to ensure that we're not living in filth and squalor? It's not good.
For people who grew up on cleanliness is next to godliness, it's sometimes surprising how we've allowed filth to engulf us pretty much.
Not good.
The conversation surrounding waste management and its disposal and other things, they are big conversations, but the assemblies at the time, the reshuffled Ahmed Ibrahim, when he was still Minister for Local Government, Sanitation, and Religious Affairs. Sanitation was not part of it. I think it was just local government. Was explaining that, look, the quota that comes in, dealing, if you want to put everything in relation to sanitation at the doorstep of MMDAs, it will be unfair to them. Right, it will be unfair to them. But we need to ask the questions. If it will be unfair to them, who should we be pointing accusing fingers to? Because in some cases, and we've gone through statistics and data points where it suggests that in other places, open waste disposal is what happens. They don't collect their waste. Now, after they go and dump it at the refuse site, which was what used to be the case when we were a bit younger, right? Who comes to collect? because we know that about 70%, if I'm not mistaken, of waste generated in this country is not taken care of properly, to put it very mildly. And so, yes, it may leave the homes. We don't have a lot of landfill sites. Now, the landfill sites, I think the last time we were having a conversation, is outside of Accra, when you're going to the eastern region in Sawam areas. That's where the landfill site is. And so, even the traffic to go and come back will suggest you can't clean 24/7. So, somebody has to be telling us of the many policy documents how we're seeking to re-engineer and have a 24-hour system which is dealing with waste, not just in the capital, because from that data point, even the capital, the waste is collected as compared to other regions, even though sometimes we ask questions as to, is someone really collecting the waste amongst other things? So for waste management, as to how we've allowed ourselves to get here, where now filth is engulfing us, I will struggle to understand.
Well, does it beat your imagination? And it beats your thinking also. Anyway, let me just enter the head office of Absa Bank and say good morning to Josephine Ama. She's listening to us this morning, and so I say good morning to you. So we come back to the same issue that we have been raising. I mentioned to you there was a company called Satarem that had intended to convert waste to energy for Ghana. And even the waste that they wanted, only Accra could not provide. So they had to go to Greater Accra. So go beyond, get to Pram Pram, get to Adan to collect all the waste and then convert it to energy for us at their costs. Not to say they are not going to make profits. But then those at the helm of affairs sat in and just allowed this thing to drop off. For me, I keep saying that without a plan, you are headed nowhere. And it doesn't seem to me like this country, we have a plan. We don't. If we do, point me to it. Is there any national plan that we have that has got to deal with where waste ought to be deposited? No. Wherever we have waste, we are allowing people to encroach. We are allowing people to build institutions over there. We are allowing people to build estates over there. And we turn around and blame who? That we do not have any waste disposal areas in Accra. Who is to blame? The assemblies are supposed to ensure that proper development structures are done within the spatial planning setup of a community, where everything is properly assigned to where it's supposed to be. Recreational grounds, where you live, where water would be stored in case it rains, where so many things would happen. Schools, clinics, markets, and all that kind of thing. Do we see that in any plan of any assembly? Do we? Waste collection. How many assemblies do you know and can say with all authority that they have been assigned 4 containers, or it is this waste company that is dealing with the Munkatamanso people, or the Ashaman people, or with the Odoko people, or Yarifa? There is none. So for me, it looks like anytime we come and sit here, we go around the textbook, what ought to be, what is not, which I call the modus operandi, what is supposed to do, not the modus vivendi, what must be. What must be is what we must always call on. So you and I are sitting here and we are talking. Talking to who? To do what? The waste. It will always wait for the next rain and you see the gutters. Wait for the next rain and you would see the gutters still filled with all these things. So what happened to the ban on plastics? What happened to the task force going around, sweeping, keeping the town clean? Nothing happens. So we'll just sit here, blow hot air. Nobody is going to take the blame for anything. Business as usual. The country hasn't got a plan, and any country that hasn't got a plan is walking towards a dead end.
So
it's walking towards a dead end.
The saying goes, fail to prepare, prepare to fail.
Exactly, that is what we are doing. So this thing, we have talked about it times without number. We have spoken about it. Zoom Lion came in at a point in time. So they have a certain place around the Polygon area where, but even with that, they convert the waste and they try to pick out the bottles from paper and all those things. Even that, when you see the queue of the tricycles on that road, look, you can't bear it. There's one from Pong, going from Kumbaria going to the Pong area, where Zoom Lion also went in there, and they have cleaned up the place so beautifully. They've laid, what's the name? I don't know if it's a carpet, but that is what it looks like the grass.
I think it's a landfill site. I've seen it.
They have cleaned the place so beautifully. But my point is that there are so many other institutions also growing in that neighborhood. And we have a real estate also in that neighborhood. So somebody would say, should I come deposit waste here? It's going to affect those within the environs because health-wise, it is not good.
That's right.
So my point is, where are we planning and what are we planning to do? We don't have rail lines. We don't have any lines to even carry it. Egbeta is saying, the traffic, driving from here, Accra, all the way to Nsawam to go and deposit, how much are they going to charge us and how much are we willing to pay for that? It is, I don't know. We are just not a plan-oriented state. So every day, I think we were the reason the book of Lamentations was written.
Oh.
Yes, because every now and then we are lamenting, we are talking, we are doing this. All these probe things, parliaments, people sitting in there, how many of them? 275 or so. Really? Do they care about the health of people? Do they discuss these matters? That is what I'm expecting them to talk about. I should not be sitting here proffering solutions to how you're supposed to manage your waste. Then the person you employed over there and paying, what are your expectations of the person? What are the KPIs? So Parliament should look at all these nitty-gritties. I keep telling you, without the assemblies being empowered to function effectively as they ought to, we'll just be sitting in a joke land. We'll just be sitting in a joke land.
There's a bit more in terms of conversation on vigilantism yesterday.
Yes.
I don't know if any of the papers captured it as well.
It was captured by National Security. The Accra Times says it. National Security calls for tougher, neutral enforcement, vigilantism and related offences.
3FM
And I think, please, do as the others and read it. I think it's at the back of the fact that people don't trust institutions. So when we are sitting back, we politicize the institutions. So when NDC is in power, foot soldiers and all those people would push or will be pushed into the security services. When NPP is in power, the same thing will be done. Some even come out brazenly to tell you that, oh, I got 200 people from my constituency to go into the military or to go into the police. And who are you speaking? You're speaking as a political figure. So how would you be seen and identified as a political person? That means those you put in there, by extension, are people of your stock. So they are your party people. So when you put them in there, and the opposition at the time of election sees Mawina Egbeta, they'll see that Mawina comes from UTC. So he's doing your bidding. You get it? When it is the other way around and they see me, they'll say, hey, this guy comes from KVIP. He's also one of them. You know that? So they don't have trust in the security apparatus. Therefore, they need to have their own security. And it is dangerous for the country. So dangerous for the country.
Fair enough. Just brief details, because we know that the queens from Ghana's Most Beautiful will be joining us this morning as well.
Who?
The GMB queens.
Oh, Lord Almighty.
They'll be joining us in studio in a chat.
Can we end the newspaper review right now, please?
Just details of this story. I'm going to read. Gideon Damali says a lamentation states the authorities must act. The talks are too much. He sends that one in from Facebook. He returns to say that the consent on the assemblies is right. Someone is asking for the WhatsApp number 053 220 0927 053 220 0927 053 220 0927. Solomon Arthur on Facebook says, I do not think Wontumi wrote that letter, probably written by Power Grips Dankwa. Ibrahim Muniru Mona says, good morning 3FM, happy working day to you. says special regards to Johnny. Neron de Boanegre says, with regards to the issue of forex losses, are we saying we shouldn't strengthen our currencies? Let's not let IMF reports confuse us. They are never on our side, nor do they want our economy to improve. How will you come back to them if your economy is performing better? Let's approach them and ask key questions about their reports whenever they are released. The truth is, it's the IMF's reports that sometimes reveal what is happening in the country, because your government or our government fail to mention some of these things, right? Fail to mention, and so that's why when the NPP was in power, they will say, oh, they don't trust everything that the IMF says, the Bretton Woods institution, we need to have our own rating agencies. The moment they are in opposition,
they rely on it.
And then when the NDC was, because at every turn, the government don't lead the way in the conversation. Imagine the government had come forward and said, oh, we did this, that, and it has resulted in what we're seeing in a strengthened city. But it's come at this cost to us as a people. We're working to improve and make sure that the policy is strengthened better. We are open to any further questions on accountability and all of that. We will not sit around the table and we'll be saying the IMF's report as a gospel truth in relation to the Ghanaian economy. So partly, we must lead the charge as well in being frontal with our people on some of these matters, such that you don't hear about what is happening from the Ghanaian economy from an external body.
We are just dishonest.
You understand? A bit more. Neron is asking, are you saying this because it's directed at me that DOJ should not pay for assaying fees because that was what they paid for the gold they bought? Let's not make the IMF spin us. Nobody's saying the IMF should spin us, but I mean, we just highlighted what was a bit more in terms of the details from the...
And to pick it back off that, he's saying... we're not saying that don't pay assay fees. We're saying that is there any wiggle room for less of a fee or less of a cost? Those are the ways in which we want to expand the conversation. So that's essentially what we've all been saying, is that we need to progress with the conversation. Continuously asking for an account is beating a dead horse. The account has been given. Now, further to that account, what more would you like? Is it a case of these fees are too high and so on and so forth?
Certainly. Our WhatsApp console, Kwame Fire in Sampa Valley says, Wontumi is no match for a national chair regardless of his status now, and he knows that. The party knows they can't risk him being their leader as executives. Henry Cote again just exposed how political leadership always finds means to enrich themselves when power is given to them. They should keep on giving Ghanaians all the reasons never to vote them again. This is Mama Riza from Scandinavia. Says, I love your news and panel. Phone number from Sweden. So, yes, Scandinavia. Good morning, Mawena. Akufo-Addo vigilante law was not well thought through just to calm situation. Then, due to mountain pressure and the atrocities meted out on innocent Ghanaians, Jones Aduboy sends that one. And Martin says he's listening to us from Qatar. And he's loving the production and wishes all of us well. I'm just going to have us touch briefly on Galamsey, right? Because yesterday, the Ashanti Regional Minister highlighted some troubling details as to 11 kids falling in abandoned pits. Let's listen to him briefly, and then I'll come back in studio.
23 lives have been lost, only because they were going to their farms and fell within pits that were left uncovered by miners within the various areas. These include 11 children whose future has been cut short because someone in his quest for money left a pit uncovered within some of these areas that leads to farmlands, among others. Looking at this problem and with the support of the minister, the National Security together with the ministry has started a reclamation effort in order that we will be able to target these uncovered pits that fall within the areas where people actually fall in and drown. I want to assure you, Minister and Your Royal Highness, that the RCC is willing and ready to collaborate with you in making sure that in our time, we are able to bring down if not completely eradicate this illegal mining problem that has bedeviled our country. And I believe so well that with this edifice here in the region, it is bringing your services closer to the people, closer to our communities, and most definitely supervision and monitoring will be very effective, even more than we have witnessed.
Breakdown of the numbers. 39 deaths from January 2025 to August 2026 have been due to pit collapses and falls into abandoned pits. 54 to 56 deaths. Verified name incidents, excluding the disputed Bogoso Pristia. 7 to 9 deaths, Obuasi armed clash between illegal miners and security forces. Look, when all is said and done, these are unfortunate statistics. And just taking into consideration what the minister said about what's happening, there's a reclamation aspect of it. And the cost in reclamation is why persons must be licensed to mine, because when they mine, they are expected to reclaim the land. But when they mine illegally, they don't reclaim. And some of the pits are very long pits. And sometimes it gets filled with water and you can drown when you fall into it, because it becomes artificial rivers or pools where in the hinterlands, some of the individuals don't even have access to rivers where they can say, they learn how to bathe in it and all of that, or swim. So there is a problem on our hands in relation to Galamsey and its attendant challenges. There's food poisoning and what have you. Then there are people who are going to do just their daily business, falling into pits.
Talk of those who can even fall into a pit merely by using the washroom in their homes. That also happens. You can be in your own home, not even on your way to your farm. We recall that unfortunate incident of a pregnant lady who went to use the washroom and just fell through, fell into the ground.
Apparently, they dug underneath the entire building.
Goodness me.
Okay, so let me read this out to you, still on this subject. So if anybody has a constitution, the 1992 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana, they can check. Article 2576 of the 1992 Constitution says, every mineral in its natural state, in, under, or upon any land in Ghana, rivers, streams, watercourses throughout Ghana, the exclusive economic zone, and any area covered by the territorial sea or continental shelf is the property of the Republic of Ghana, is the property of the Republic of Ghana, and shall be vested in the President on behalf of and in trust for the people of Ghana. So this is it. Simple. Any natural mineral resource that is found on the land, in the sea, stream, rivers, anywhere, is the what? Property of the Republic of Ghana. And who holds that for us? It is vested in trust in the President of the Republic. Article 2681 says, any transaction, contract, or concession for the exploitation of any mineral, water, or other natural resource, not mineral water, please, any mineral, water, or other natural resource after the Constitution came into force must be ratified by Parliament. This is just to draw everybody's attention to the fact that all these issues that we're talking about concerning mining, every property therein, every natural resource, every negligence that has been put there is owned by the government of this country, that is the Republic of Ghana, and then held in trust by who? The President. So if it is that all these things belong to us, whose negligence is causing all these things? Who are you to blame? You don't blame the people for doing something that is irascible. No. It is inherent in man to be irascible. So if they are being irascible, it is your responsibility, because the Constitution places that hold on you. It gives you that responsibility, that duty, that this is what you're supposed to do. So if we sit down and we say that we cannot do anything about what is going on, these are the stories that we'll be reading every day. 11 dead. Who knows who those children were going to become in future? She just came back from a certain position. Carrying it for 9 months is not an easy joke. And for them to get to this level and then they fall in a pit, how do you think their mothers will feel?
Mm-hmm.
You get it? This is pure negligence, recklessness in our governance structure that we need not be coming on air to be speaking to every day, because people in authority know it. Now, the other article talks about the formation of the Minerals Commission, who has oversight responsibility on all these things. So why would it be difficult in this day and age where we even have drones? We went to Gomwa with A+ to go and check on a few things. And if you see the drones the Chinese guys were using and the way they were mapping out the places, you'll be like, oh, wow. Technology is far advanced. You don't need to be on the ground there where the guys are. You can only see aerially what they are doing. And then you can write reports on that. And then you map out and know we have to attack them from this level, that level, that. But we are sitting, look, we're just joking. We're just joking. And it is very disheartening. So the article in the Constitution has pointed to us who owns all the natural mineral resources in this country and who is responsible for that. So all instructions, authority must come from that person.
I'm going to read this message as we round up and make way for the Queens. Good morning. Michael Asante, right, sends this one in. And perhaps it will be food for thought and give us a reason to return subsequently. Says, good morning. Dansuman Estates is in a mess. The MMDC office is not up to the task. Street lights are not working. Gutters still choked. Even in the lane where office is situated. Furthermore, structures erected in the vicinity anyhow or unauthorized. We want our own to lead us and not what the president appoints.
That is coming from an assembly, right? Look, Mawina.
No, it's coming from an individual.
Yes. Mawina, you can do something for Ghanaians. From now till next week, open up to people and let them speak about the role of the assemblies and things that are happening in their communities that the assemblies are sitting off. You would see the number of people who are going to draw a lot of attention to things that are happening. Ask them to add videos and photos. And you see the recklessness in terms of the relation of duty that people who have been put in positions of authority just look on as these things fester. We see what happens is that when you look on unconcerned about such things as an assembly, you allow personalities to clash, you allow people to fight, you allow acrimony to come within a community. So if I live and opposite my house, somebody is doing something untoward, which ought to be checked by the assembly task force, and they refuse to do that. Do you think if I confront this person, the person will be happy enough? It will get into a conflagration. And then what do you expect? Oh, somebody slashes, what's the name? What do you call them? They are not my tenants. They are something else.
Right.
So, allow the assemblies, people to send you messages and information on the assemblies, and you realize that we have huge problems.
We'll get into a bit more. I just said this was going to be food for thought for all of us, right? And then get us into quick conversations with our queens. This is still the 3FM Sunrise. Quick checks as to if there are any more messages on Facebook before we get into it this morning for you here on the show. Right.